I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on GBN, we're unraveling a deeply moving tale of illness, memory, and hope. The name of the book, The Power of Rain, and is written by a terrific author. Her name is Tilly Gray. Set in the late 1950s, this historical novel follows the unlikely bond between Jenny, a teenager battling lupus, and Ethan, a Holocaust survivor still haunted by the past. Their lives collide on an ocean liner, and what follows is a story of survival, friendship, and the search for a lost sister. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today. We thank the team at Atticus Publishing for helping us put her on TV today, and we ask viewers like you to support authors like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her amazing book. The links are below this interview. Tilly, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford, for having me.
My pleasure. This is such an original and inspired work. What made you come up with the idea to bring together a Holocaust survivor and a teenage girl with lupus in this powerful story?
Well, I have to admit that a lot of it is based on my own personal past.
Hmm.
I was diagnosed with lupus when I was 14 years old in St. Luke's Hospital in New York in the late 50s. And at that time, it was pretty much a death sentence. There,
Hmm.
and my mother, bless her heart, decided to move the family to Italy because there was supposed to be a specialist in Switzerland
Hmm.
at a hospital in Zurich. It was very expensive in the late 50s to live in Switzerland because the war had been favorable to Switzerland, but Italy was a different story. So we settled in Rome, my mother and I, and with my older brother coming back and forth, and my beloved stepfather moving, who had been separated from my mother, but he promptly moved to Italy. And as my brother said, they had not such a great marriage, but they had a great divorce. They were inseparable in Italy.
Funny.
And so it's Jenny's story, and she meets Ethan, who I actually met a Holocaust. I met a man on a ship going to Italy, physicist who became my best friend.
Hmm.
And the characters are loosely based on people that I met in my 2 years that I spent in Italy. Doctors, the hospital settings are all real. I very, very much wanted to concentrate on what people with lupus suffer because it's not a disease that's widely known.
Hmm.
And even when I was diagnosed, before I was diagnosed, when my symptoms had been uh, put to rest, I thought I had polio.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to die in an iron lung because that
Hmm.
was the disease that was prevalent in my youth. So when my family doctor finally took pity on me because I believed I had polio, and he told me, "No, you have this strange disease called systemic lupus
Hmm.
erythematosus." It meant nothing to me
Yeah.
at that time. But as I went from doctor to doctor, and as my symptoms came back over and over, I began to realize um, that I was supposed to die. And then it became a question of what kind of resources can you find? What kind of resources do people use? And I wanted to make that prominent in the book, and especially to my friends out there that I've come to know in the lupus community. Your world gets so small when you're sick and you're scared and you hurt. You have to look out. I almost called the book Look Around.
Hmm.
There's help everywhere.
Yeah.
Jenny's helped originally by a book by Jack London, of all people,
Hmm.
uh, a prisoner at San Quentin in 1902, being strapped into a straitjacket and in great pain. And he's taught a technique for getting himself out of pain.
Hmm.
Jenny uses it in the hospital to get away from her joint pains. There are, and the book was given to her by a stranger. She didn't
Hmm.
know who this person was who sent her the book. Um, Meeting Ethan Mathis, meeting this person on the ship he offers help in the way of telling her how he survived and what a miracle happened to him,
Mm.
so that Jenny understands that it's out there. Various doctors that gave her hope in these hospitals, not your traditional doctors often. Um, it's I really wanted people to understand there are resources out there for them. But I also just wanted to tell a great story.
Well, you certainly did that. You did tell a great story and informed people along the way. So you accomplished both goals, no doubt. The Power of Rain. Talk to us about the title and the significance of rain in the stories.
All right. This was a little difficult because the story is told through the first person, Jenny's voice. The whole story is told through Jenny's voice, except the prologue, which is only a page and a half. And it's Ethan on the death march from Auschwitz and the role that rain plays in saving his life. I
Yeah.
don't want to talk more
You,
about it.
you don't want to give away too much, no
No.
spoilers, but yeah, it is significant. I think it's both figurative and literal, the rain in the book, and it's quite wonderful and it works very, very effectively. Talk to us about the ocean liner and what it represents in the lives of Ethan and Jenny.
Well, of course, in those days, it took you 12 days to go from New York to Naples on the
Mm.
Saturnia. And so there's plenty of time to talk. There's
Mm.
plenty of time to get to know someone. And it's different than when you fly and you get on the plane, you don't really care who you're sitting next to, and the next minute you're in the other country. So the ocean liner becomes the vehicle through which Jenny and Ethan recognize each other because they are both survivors. And I have to tell you, Mr. Crawford, I don't know what your history is. Survivors recognize each other all over the world when they meet, no matter what the trauma has been. If you are a survivor, there's something different about you, and you recognize another survivor.
Yeah.
And so it gave Jenny time to learn this and to understand this. And it cemented this unique friendship between a 17-year-old girl and a man who was 30 at the
Mm.
time, and married.
Yeah.
And so, unlikely friendship. Um, Certainly, her parents were confused by it, but because they saw that it was helping Jenny, they didn't interfere. As a
Mm.
matter of fact, they lean on Ethan a couple of times when Jenny has relapses in the book. Um, I think the other thing that I wanted to share with readers is in America, we have no idea what it's like after a war has torn across a country.
Mm.
People in this country have no idea what it was like in Europe, even 12 years after the war.
Yeah.
I mean, the war wasn't over in the
Right.
50s, not for a lot of people. I mean, if you were a German soldier, you could never go home again.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter that you weren't a Nazi, your home was gone. I
Yeah.
mean, if you were Italian, you were on the wrong side when it started. You were a joke to many people. That's why we lived in Rome. It was cheap. Everybody needed a job. The poverty, it's where Jenny first sees poverty for the first time
Yeah.
because she's been an entitled child. She's never wanted for anything. And suddenly she's seeing people with no arms and no legs and poor children begging on the streets. And this is an eye opener to her.
Yeah.
Uh, and so partly, and of course, then there's the Jewish question. And um, my best friend, who Ethan is based on, was a German Jew. And
Mhm.
I think, again, we have to constantly remind people that there was a Holocaust and it did impact millions of people. And I don't want us to forget.
Absolutely. Those who forget history are condemned to repeat it. And we see too many eerie parallels in this country right now. So
Scary, isn't it?
it's very, very scary. Have you envisioned this book as a film?
It's funny, you're the second person to ask me that this week. Um, no, I didn't. Do you think it would be a good
I
film?
think it would be great. I mean, the settings post-World War II, Europe and the cruise liner and Jenny and Ethan. I think you got strong characters. I think you have strong locations. I think you have a compelling story. I think it would be great. So, Hollywood, if you're listening, here's a book that's ready to be translated to the big screen. I think it would be wonderful. So, you've done the hard work, you've created the work, you've created the story, you've lived the story, and putting it out there. You never know whose desk it's going to wind up on. So hopefully it winds up on Steven Spielberg's desk or something like that. That would be terrific, without a doubt. Let me ask you this. You mentioned it during the interview that your mother brought you to Italy because there was a new treatment there. Did that treatment help you? Was it successful? Were you?
No,
Okay.
no, not really. Although I did learn a lot in researching what was going on about, I have a character in the book, a side character, a young boy named Basil, who Jenny meets in the hospital in Zurich, where her mother dumps her, really.
Hmm.
Jenny thinks she's just going for tests, but she's dumped there.
Hmm.
Um, she doesn't stay for very long, but she meets a fascinating young boy who has Hodgkin's disease and is being treated with mistletoe treatments.
Huh.
And that was a real treatment in the 50s for Hodgkin's disease. Mistletoe, the serum from mistletoe injected into tumors.
Hmm.
Um, what Jenny did get at the hospital was was hope from a doctor
Hmm.
there who convinces her that she could be one of the ones who beats the disease.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Is it a condition you have to live with, or did it resolve
Yes.
on its own eventually? You just
No,
learned to live with it.
no, you have to, you have to, it's funny, the sequel that I'm writing now is called Beware the Sun. And
Hmm.
that's a pun in some ways because lupus people have to be very careful of the sun. The sun is a trigger for
Hmm.
what we call a lupus flare.
Hmm.
And a lupus flare can take any form. I mean, lupus is an autoimmune disease. So your body gives a signal to your immune system that there's danger roaring through your bloodstream, and your body creates something to kill the danger, and there is no danger, so it
Yeah.
attacks healthy tissue. In my
Hmm.
case, I was lucky. I was attacked my lungs, can hear my voice, my
Yeah.
vocal cords. Um, Mostly my lungs were impacted. Many the lupus people who as children seem to die the most are those who have their kidneys badly affected. Now, I don't want anybody listening to me now to think they can't deal with that because they can. But in my day, if your kidneys were severely impacted, you usually didn't make it. They used massive doses of cortisone in those days. Um, Now they have Plaquenil. Now they have a couple of other drugs. They don't really have a drug
Hmm.
for lupus yet. So it's a question of managing, trying to not let the flares, not have the flares. And of course, they tell you all the same things. No tension. In my case, they said don't have children. I have
Hmm.
children. Um, in other words, don't upset your system in any way.
Right, right.
You know.
MS people sometimes get the same type of advice just to
Yes.
take good, gentle care of themselves, baby themselves, if you will. Well, this book is amazing, folks. It's a powerful story. It is called The Power of Rain, a young girl's illness, an older man's love, a captivating story of survival, memories, and miracles. It is a beautifully layered debut novel that speaks to healing across generations. Tilly, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you very much for having me, Mr. Crawford.
I appreciate your time, your insight, and your candor. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford for GBN. So long for now.